I can say without flinching and even without blinking an eye that Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution is one of the best fighting games ever made. It's the follow-up to last year's Virtua Fighter 4, which, up until just now, was the best fighting game currently available. Now Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution replaces that product. It's a follow-up product. It's not a whole new sequel, as the name implies, but it does add 2 new characters. It makes some meaningful tweaks to the gameplay and to the main single-player mode, and really it makes a nearly perfect and just truly superb fighting game even better. So regardless of whether you have Virtua Fighter 4 already, if you have any interest in the genre whatsoever, you really owe yourself a copy of Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. Right out the gate, VF4 Evolution is part of Sony's Greatest Hits collection, which means it retails for just $20. So not only are you getting one of the best fighting games ever made, but you're also getting a really good bargain. That's a big reason why Virtua Fighter 4 owners might as well get this expansion product as well. There's definitely enough here that those who've played Virtua Fighter 4 absolutely to death would still very much want to check this game out. The 2 new fighters are Brad Burns and Go Hinogami. Brad is basically this tough guy-looking kickboxer. He can dodge and sway and deliver some pretty nasty elbow strikes and knees and those sorts of attacks. Go is a judo fighter. He's kind of freaky looking, has some facial piercings and that sort of thing. But other than that, he fights using the traditional Japanese art of grappling and submission holds and can really overpower his opponents with these kinds of moves. Virtua Fighter purists are going to notice that these 2 new characters actually don't necessarily fit in quite well with the returning cast of characters. These new guys are definitely kind of edgier and a bit more comic book-like than the more straightforward returning cast. And if anything, they seem like they'd be more at home in Namco's more over-the-top Tekken series than in Virtua Fighter. With that said, they do fill kind of a void in this series, and they do help make it a bit more accessible to those who maybe are looking for something a bit more immediately exciting looking than sort of just a more straightforward martial arts fighters that have characterized the series in the past. But ultimately, whether you like the character designs or not, you can't argue with there being these 2 entirely new characters with a lot of new moves and a lot of new tactics and things like that. So even if you hate them, you'll still probably like beating them up. Other than the new characters, VF4 Evolution totally overhauls the interface and the single-player mode of Virtua Fighter 4. For one thing, the training mode has been expanded this time around. Virtua Fighter 4 already did a fantastic job of essentially teaching you the game, teaching you all the nuances of the gameplay. VF4 Evolution does an even better job of this for the most part, and not only does it walk you through every single character's moves, it also walks you through all the basics on up through the very advanced elements of gameplay, things like avoiding throws and parrying attacks, all kinds of really advanced stuff that the world's best players use. Basically, VF4 Evolution gives you the tools to go from being an amateur player at this game to becoming pretty much an expert level player. The main single-player mode is called Quest Mode, and it replaces the Kumite mode from last year's Virtua Fighter 4. The main difference between Quest Mode and Kumite mode is that Quest Mode has a context. In it, you're basically an aspiring Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution player, taking on all challengers in various arcades around the neighborhood and eventually getting into tournaments and hopefully winning those tournaments, things like that. It's all there just so you could play against successive computer opponents that will probably be around the same skill level as you, or they'll ramp up at about the same pace as you will. Again, the artificial intelligence of Virtua Fighter 4 is the star player here, so although it's well known that fighting games are at their most intense and most entertaining when you're playing them against someone of a similar skill level to yourself, playing against the computer in VF4 Evolution is really just the next best thing. VF4 Evolution's graphics are about the same as those of last year's game, but the main difference that fans of that game might notice is that the aliasing issue is less noticeable here, which is definitely a good thing. A lot of PlayStation 2 games suffer from kind of the step-ladder effect seen on diagonal lines, and so that's less the case in this game, and that makes the character models look cleaner and better overall. The game's also got a few new arenas and a few new music tracks for good measure. Volumes have already been written about the sheer depth and variety seen in Virtua Fighter 4, and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution, this new game, just takes this really fantastic game and for the most part just makes it even better. It's easily recommendable to anyone with any interest in the genre whatsoever. The game might not have some of the pure pick-up-and-play appeal of some other fighting games, even though, sure, you could pick it up and mash on some buttons and blow off some steam if you like, but this really is a game either for those who are serious about fighting games or who just like to really get into a game like this and play it seriously. If that's the sort of person you are, then VF4 Evolution is just going to be the perfect game for you.